Happy Tuesday, everyone. Welcome to Nutmeg Sports on the HAN Network. I'm Rob Adams. Happy you decided to join us as we dive a little further into the abyss known as the high school sports summer right here on Nutmeg Sports. Donald Eng across the way. There's a part of me that feels lost. I don't know what to do.
Well, what to do? Yeah, exactly. You know, you go from having championship games, like 4 or 5 of them a day, to none. Now you stare into the high school abyss. I mean, there's always plenty of local sports going on. We've got Briquettes, we've got Bluefish, we've got Danbury, a lot of local events. But yeah, it's like, you know, it's almost like the day after the World Series where you're just like, what do you? Where it's like 7:40 and you think you got the remote in your hand and you're like, what do I do?
Yeah, what do I do? Well, you know, it's over. I have nothing to watch. I have nothing to, well, but there's always stuff. As you said, there is plenty of stuff going on at this time of year. You allude to the Danbury Westerners among some other things. We'll talk about all that on this edition of the show, including the Hall of Fame banquet coming up in the FCIAC later tonight. So we'll tell you a little more about that and a couple of new awards that have been created there. The football schedules are out. We didn't get to that at the end of last week, nor did we get to it on yesterday's show, but we've got some time for it on today's show. So we'll spend a little time on that as well. But I also want to make sure we spend a moment right now on the Athlete of the Week because, again, there was an issue with it last week. We do have it up online, so we want to make sure you get to voting for the Week 9 Athletes of the Week.
Yeah, sometimes you feel like John McEnroe with the Cyclops line judging machine. We're just like, it just, you know, not to sound paranoid, but that machine knows who we are.
It knows exactly who we are. And if you go to yesterday's Nutmeg Sports program on HAN.network, you go to the write-up of it. The link is right there. And in fact, I am going to make sure Nutmeg Sports retweets it in a matter of seconds right here so that you know where to find it.
Yeah, you know, because you really like to see the athletes get the recognition they deserve. So, yep. Get voting.
Get voting, exactly. We'll also have Week 10 nominees coming up for you pretty soon. They're not officially out yet. We're still tabulating or something.
Compiling,
making
sure all the chads are firmly affixed.
Exactly, or it's all Pontooth the cat. I really don't know at this point. But in any event, we will have those nominees for you. But again, we want you to make sure you get out and vote for Week 9. And you're literally watching me start to tweet it as we speak. This is exciting stuff.
I was going to say, yeah. So now we get to figure out exactly how long the delay is.
I'll try not to. I can sometimes walk and chew gum. With that said, you know, the baseball polls are out.
Polls, plural, are out. Game Time CT and the Hartford Current both releasing their polls. No surprise at the top, obviously. The top 2 spots, the same in both polls. Amity, which was, you know, wire to wire number 1, 27-1. They were by far the dominant team in the state this year. Then Notre Dame, an interesting pick for number 2. The Knights with a 19-9 record, the Class L champs.
But, you know, most fascinating, as you see on the screen, is Fairfield Ward. And I know there are those who are going to say, wait, Fairfield Ward, do I wonder if 3 might be too high for the Mustangs? To an extent, but I really like that pitching staff. And that team played well. As, you know, they write on Game Time CT, they were oh so close to knocking off Amity, but earned respect in the final number 3 ranking. I can see where one wants to quarrel with Ward being at number 3. When you throw in Reese Maniscalco, who was the co-FCIAC Player of the Year, John Natoli, who was an outstanding pitcher, Joey Deutsch working his magic over at 3rd, that's a nice team. Are they 3? I don't know. I don't get a vote for that matter, to be fair. Number 4 was East Lyme, Wolcott at number 5, Don. But, you know, Bristol Eastern at number 6, but I'm happy to see there's Darien at number 7.
Yeah, Darien number 7. It's, you know, you kind of, I at least had sort of a bad feeling from a Darien perspective going to that game against Trumbull because Trumbull had played them so tough, and you knew you were going to get a super motivated, really angry Trumbull team. They did not like the way they lost that FCIAC championship game, and you know that Trumbull was just, you know, chomping at the bit for another crack at Darien.
They were, and of course that's the danger of playing a team that many times, but give Darien credit, Mike Scott and that entire team, for being number 7 on the season according to Game Time CT. Waterford number 8, St. Paul Catholic 9, and Hamden rounding out the top 10 at number 10. And a lot of respect with others receiving votes as well. In terms of the FCIAC, Trumbull received some votes,
And that is all I see from the FCIAC point of view.
Right. I'm trying. Yeah, that was it. And some people still voting for Fairfield Prep on their ballot with a record of 13-10. They lost in the first round. Interesting to put that Waterford is that team was ranked number one for not number one. They were gaining ground for a couple of weeks. 23-3. They lost to Wolcott in the Class M quarterfinals, as Wolcott kind of made an unexpected run through the tournament to get that championship in Class M. Wolcott actually also, like Ward and like Notre Dame for that matter, not ranked last week, and then jumping into the top half of the poll.
Our buddy Tom Yance, haven't had him on in a while, from the Hartford Current, compiled the rankings for the Current, and of course they also put Amity at number one. And again, you're talking about a team that went 27-1, won a championship on the Max Sheps walk in the 7th inning. You have to give them respect. They got the job done. Now, situation would have been mighty different if somehow Fairfield Ward can pull off that championship win, but in the end, they got the win. That's all that matters. They are the number one team, with Notre Dame of West Haven 2, Wolcott 3, East Lyme 4th, and Bristol Eastern 5th, Don, in the Current top 10.
Right, and then in the Current top 10, they have St. Paul in there at number 6, the Class M champ. Beat Coggins, Notre Dame, Portland, Old Lyme, and Morgan in the Class S playoffs. Then, of course, now the Current has Ward number 7, then Waterford, then Darien 9, and then Morgan tied with Northwest Regional for that number 10 spot. So interestingly, the Current also has Ward ranked a couple of spots ahead of Darien. Ward 7, Darien 9, according to the Current.
Ooh. I guess, you're talking about Darien that went 22-4 versus Ward that went 19-8. Darien won the FCIAC championship. Ward went on and played for a state title. Are both these polls weighing the state higher than the FCIAC? That might be the case.
It's pretty clearly the case. Also, I think they're weighing kind of a what have you done for me lately type thing. In the last couple of weeks, schools like Hamden lost in the first round. Darien lost in the second round. Ward managed to get through the 4 or 5 rounds to get to the finals. So that having on the basis of that kind of good performance to close the season, that is of course the last thing the voters sees. If I had a vote, and I don't, but if I did, I would probably have to put Darien ahead of Ward. I'm not sure exactly where I would put them. I might put Darien right around 8 and Ward maybe 10, 11, right, kind of like right on the periphery of the top 10. But clearly, yes, the state voters do value how you do in the tournament when you're playing schools from outside of your conference.
And keep in mind, to be fair, and this is not knocking either Derek Turner, who compiled the game time, or, as I said, Tom Yance, who handled the Hartford Current poll, but in both cases, you're frequently also talking about voters who don't get to see these teams. That has to be taken into account. And look, I've voted on certain polls here and there as well. I know that feeling where you're going, I have to go off the empirical data of what I see on the screen telling me that, New Canaan beat Greenwich or whatever, but I haven't seen the Rams play, as a for instance. I understand that's kind of the, mess of a thing like that. And mess is the wrong word, but that's kind of, the downfall of it.
Right, and of course, and that, would partially explain why, the Hartford Current, because of where it is, they do have Wolcott ranked a little bit higher than than game time. They have East Lyme a little bit higher, St. Paul, schools like that are in kind of that northern and central part of the state that the Fairfield and New Haven County centric reporters simply wouldn't see. So I think a lot of the times the reporters are balancing the numbers with what they've seen with their own eyes, and in many cases, they haven't seen a reporter that covers Fairfield or Greenwich, or for that matter New Haven, might not have seen Wolcott all season.
Yeah, I think that's entirely fair. But Darien, Fairfield, Ward, to me it's tough. We saw Darien and Trumbull play in the FCIAC championship. I kept thinking Ward was going to get there actually just as easily. That didn't happen. We didn't wind up with those two playing for the title. So I don't know. I think there's a case to be made for each team in the end. Darien just seemed like a better team in the regular season, to be fair.
Going on their total body of work, I think Darien overall had a better season than Ward did. Had Ward managed to win that final game against Amity, I would be singing a completely different tune. But yes, I thought based on their full season body of work, I would have put Darien a little one, 2 spots higher. Then again, that's why these are called opinion polls.
They are called opinion polls. We don't get a vote. We don't do any kind of poll like this. So, it does make for fun conversation. So when Brett Connor and Mike Scott see either one of us over the next couple of weeks, please be nice to us. We're just having a conversation here. By the way, we didn't talk about this yesterday, but since I've got the Current open and I only get a couple of articles I can look at before they block me, I've got the state softball poll. Let me quickly do that because we didn't get to that yesterday. We talked about the game time one, but I figure let's quickly do that. Remember who we talked about yesterday and who you thought should be number 1 in the state?
I thought Cheshire should be number 1 in the state.
They go with Fitch.
They went with Fitch also. Okay, so clearly it's everyone else in the state on one side and me on the other. How did the first place votes break down?
They don't list it that way. They just list who they think was 1 through 10. Cheshire number 2, Seymour 3, Amity number 4, Southington 5, Rocky Hill 6. Holy Cross 7, somebody missing, folks. Massac number 8, NFA 10, St. Joseph number 9.
Right. That's and that's about that's in my opinion that's about where I probably would put them. I mean, they lost in the Class M semifinals to a couple of outstanding teams. That Rocky Hill team was outstanding, and really so was the North Branford team that took Rocky Hill to extra innings. I mean. At the very top, it really comes down to whose pitcher is just a little bit more on point, or who you have a ball batted 8 inches to one way or the other, and that decides a game in softball.
It does, and it makes for a lot. Again, these are for fun. I can tell you my own history of polls. I watched every play of the 2007 Greenwich football season, for instance. I don't think there was a finer football team in the state, and yet the voters made Ansonia the number 1 team in the state at the end of that season. I still, to this day, 9 years later, can still look back and go, Greenwich would have taken Ansonia, chewed them up, spit them out. Would have been ugly.
Yeah, I mean that happens. When you have that's a matter of enrollment and things like that. Where you
that's all true too. That's all true too.
And ultimately, I do think there are 2 distinct theories on polling. You have some folks like our own Mike Suppy that like to vote based on resume, like who played, look at their overall body of work, who has the more impressive resume. Then you have folks like me who think to myself, okay, hypothetically, if these 2 teams were playing each other on the same field, who do I think would win? And that's 2 distinct theories on how to vote in a poll, and people can go either way on them.
They're fun, I guess. That's
fun.
What it
Ultimately, they're
comes down
meaningless
to.
because I don't like.
They really are.
Because I think I think if I'm Greenwich or if I'm Ansonia and I'm looking down at my state championship ring, do I really care what Don thought?
No, you really don't. It makes. Again,
in fact, I am Don, and I
don't care what. Quick note before we do go to break: Legion baseball off and running. Trumbull off to a great start. They're 7-0 on the year. I saw that Greenwich was 5-0 also. So. And Legion baseball is good quality stuff.
It is. If you're a fan of high school baseball, you should go take in some Legion games, particularly in towns that have multiple high schools. And you always think to yourself, boy, how good would it be if the Ward and the Ludlow players were on the same team? Go see some Legion ball.
I got a better example for you. What about the Hatfields and McCoys? New Canaan and Darien have their own team together. Seems almost, doesn't seem possible.
It really doesn't. And it's funny. You don't often talk about trash talk within your own locker room, but I imagine it happens.
I'm sure it does. We need to take a break here on Nutmeg Sports. We have more to do. As we mentioned, we'll get into the FCIAC Players of the Year in terms of the All-FCIAC teams, in terms of baseball and lacrosse. And we've got some more stuff to do as well. Don and I return on Nutmeg Sports right after this on the HAN Network.
I really wanted something that felt like a home. Coming from a big house, I wanted the feel of a home as opposed to a condo. New Canaan is 6 minutes down the road. New Canaan's a beautiful little town to walk around. I work in Westport. My commute is 20 minutes. It's close to Westchester where my family is, so the location is ideal. There is no other townhome that compares in the area. This is where I want to be. I really wanted something that felt like a home. Coming from a big house, I wanted the feel of a home as opposed to a condo. New Canaan is 6 minutes down the road. New Canaan's a beautiful little town to walk around.
Had a sports injury or slip and fall that needs immediate care? Coastal Ortho Express Urgent Care gives you direct access to an orthopedic specialist fast without an appointment. Biking, golf, tennis, soccer, whatever the sports injury is, sprain or fracture, Coastal Ortho Express can help. Coastal Ortho Express Urgent Care open Monday through Saturday in the iPark building at 761 Main Avenue in Norwalk, or go to coastalorthoexpress.com. That's coastalorthoexpress.com. Like them on Facebook.
It's time to come back to hometown banking, where people are taken into account, not just balances. Where community comes first. A place where there's more than one kind of interest. Where automation will never replace consideration. Where they not only know your name, they know your dog's name too. It's time to expect more. It's time to bank well. Bank smart. Bank local. Bank well.
For more than 50 years, Triple S has been Fairfield County's expert service for carpet, upholstery, and drapery cleaning. We provide the best in repairs and in-depth restoration, understanding fabrics and how to properly clean and restore them. Our staff will come to your home to clean your wall-to-wall carpet to perfection. We can also pick up your fine carpets and bring them to our facilities. With locations in Norwalk, Stamford, and Stratford, Triple S will get the job done fast, big or small. At Triple S, you can count on our people as well as our cleaning. Find us at triplesclean.com or 203-847-8000. I'm Kate Chaplinsky. Join us for Coffee Break weekdays at 11 to get the latest Connecticut news, weather, high school sports, and more. News doesn't get any more local than on Coffee Break on the HAN Network.
Welcome back to Nutmeg Sports here on the HAN Network. Rob Adams, Donald Eng. It is Tuesday. Happy you decided to join us here on the program. We have started handing out some of the, dare we say, postseason accomplishments and salutes and all that stuff. And the All-FCIAC teams have been selected, including baseball and lacrosse. So why don't we head to the diamond first and see who those players are. In fact, we had Player of the Year right here on this program yesterday. Richard Brereton of Darien, along with Reese Maniscalco of Fairfield Ward. Both really good pitchers. Both can play the infield as well. We already heard what a great young man Richard is, and Reese is an equally good guy, and congratulations to both of them. Very deserving of being co-players of the year.
Absolutely. I mean, Brereton had one of the great, just a great career and going on, obviously now playing international level baseball, although born in London, Manchester United fan, bit shaky there. I'm not 100% sure, but very, very deserving nominees.
He didn't seem to be all that much of a soccer fan, though, when you get right down to it. And still, we're dealing with the bangers and mash issue. Coach of the Year is Mike Scott, deservedly so. And look, it's not about wins and losses, at least not to me. It's about building a program. It's about who handles his program, and I thought Mike did a phenomenal job running that Darien team, and that's been a program that has been building for a couple of years.
Right. Obviously they are they were the FCIAC champs, making that great run through the FCIAC tournament. But also the way when you watch Darien play, they're fundamentally sound. They just play just a very I don't even know the word I would use, just like a very clean style of baseball and winning baseball.
And a pitching staff that we already know would include Brereton and Maniscalco, but how about Andrew Winch, Robbie Jones, Mike Gonzalez, and John Natoli?
Outstanding.
That's some pitching.
Yeah, that's not bad. And that of course is the key to making a tournament run, particularly in baseball. Unlike in softball, where you can have a pitcher that throws every day, baseball. Depth in the pitching staff is just the number one thing that you need for a tournament run.
We're getting a little long-winded, but your catcher is Marco Montero, Noe Yokoi at first base from Staples. Take a look around at the rest of the infield. Jamie Schofield, Colin Kelly, Wadi Almonte, and Johnny Spotto of West Hill. There are the outfielders as well, including A.J. Fabry, who was on the show last week. And the utility players, I mean, it's almost amazing to refer to Ben Kasparius of Staples as a utility player because he too can pitch, so can Ryan Searles. Again, you're doing mighty good with this team.
Well, utility players, when you get a utility player like that, really when you list his position, it should just say BBP. He's a baseball player.
Yeah, seriously. So there's your All-FCIAC baseball team. Congratulations to all of them. Let's turn our attention now over to lacrosse and see who the players are over on the lacrosse field. On the attack side, again, names that you're going to be familiar with, including Minikis and Niffen and Clayton Burt and Michael Sands, Connor Chamberlain, Kevin Lindley. We saw all these guys on the HAN Network. We saw Will Perry and Peter Dirth and Hudson Hamill among the midfielders, Michael Reale, Ryan O'Connell, Kyle Smith of New Canaan, Rock Stewart as your long stick midfielder, another terrific player there. All good, top-notch players there. And over on the defense, I mean, Mark Ivanchik, once again, Player of the Year. Chase Levesque, David Strupp, Jake Timon, Will Simpson from Darien, and the goalies. I talked about on Coffee Break this morning. You don't get much better than either Ryan Cornell or Drew Morris.
And and a good goalie makes such a difference. Whether it's stopping shots, even because in lacrosse, obviously, shot wide of the goal many times remains with the attacking team. When a goalie can just reach out and make that save, that helps your team tremendously.
Christian Trefone of Darien as the short stick defensive midfielder. He was so good all season. RJ Romeo of Wilton was the face-off specialist. And there will be others that are going to come up. Tanner Strube of Darien is going to be solid going forward. Nick Cravato from New Canaan, also really good on the face-off circle at the X. So these guys are going to be players to watch. And congrats to Coach Kirsten of Danbury as well.
Right, and also just while we're talking about lacrosse, the all-state teams are out as far as lacrosse goes. On the attack, Niffen, Minikis, and Chamberlain, Lindley, and Sands on the all-state attack. For the midfield, we have Dirth, Hamill, Perry, Book for making for all-state, and for defense, you have Ivanchik, Levesque, Timon, Hoffman. We didn't mention AJ Hoffman.
No, we didn't mention AJ Hoffman.
And Jameson, Keefe, and Will Simpson, and then also the long stick midfield and goalkeeper.
Peter Berger is the second team.
Class L.
Right. To find a whole bunch more players. Greenwich on the face-off side for Class L. Over in Class M, Jackson Apelt, Clayton Burt, as well as, and I know we're kind of making this up as we go along here, down the line is Ryan O'Connell, Kyle Smith, let's see, who else? Peter Swindell among the midfielders made second team. On the defense is James Cravato, who was outstanding. David Strupp, also a big presence. Andrew Bowersfield is second team. The long stick is James Frere with, let's see, Matt Cognetta as the short stick midfielder. Goalkeeper, that's where Drew Morris comes in, and Nick Cravato in the face-off X. So good job for all those guys. And in Class S, Don, I'll throw it back to you.
And in Class S, primarily this is going to be from the FCIAC. It's going to be St. Joseph players. Jared Newell, first team All-State on the attack. Also St. Joseph. Killian Donahue, first team All-State goal site.
All great pictures and all that stuff. Game Time does a great job. But congratulations to all of them, all the All-State, whether it be
Walter Stewart's Market in New Canaan is your time-saving local shopping destination for the best of spring. Find many of your favorite products, from great specials on everyday items to the freshest organic produce, artisanal cheeses, and grass-fed steaks. Drop off your knives to be sharpened, grab a beautiful bouquet of spring flowers, and stop in next door for a wine tasting. Plus, their personable staff is always ready to lend a helping hand. So stop in to Walter Stewart's Market, 229 Elm Street today, or shop online at stewartsmarket.com.
Warm weather, light breezes, boats are in the water. There's no better place to celebrate summer than the Dock Shop. Whether in Darien at 51 Tokenique Road or Westport at 609 Riverside Avenue, the Dock Shop is where you'll find everything you need to kick off summer. From the latest summer apparel to the newest fishing tackle, the Dock Shop will help you get the most out of your next beach day or harbor cruise. At the Dock Shop, you'll find a wonderful selection of items made in the USA and right here in New England, all with a distinct nautical flair. Boater, beach bum, fisherman, or simply love the coastal lifestyle, this is a unique place to shop. DockShop.com.
At the Language School in Ridgefield, we teach practical language for real life. tailored to your professional needs or those of your children. Offering more than a dozen languages, the school specializes in creating customized classes for businesses, government agencies, and healthcare professionals in Fairfield and Westchester counties. Native speakers from around the world will instruct students of all ages in the language and the culture using a hands-on method. Find out more about what makes us different at thelanguageschoolglobal.com or call us at 203-241-7010.
I'm John Kovach. I'm a newspaper editor. I'm a high school football coach. I'm a television presenter, and I want you to love fishing as much as I do. Tune in to Yankee Fisherman, Thursdays at 1 on the HAN Network. It's like going to the tackle shop without leaving your office.
Well, welcome back to Nutmeg Sports. Before we get to the football schedules for 2016, that's the kickoff I was referring to, let's begin to kind of close out the 2015-16 schedule and, you know, the events of high school sports. The Hall of Fame and FCIAC Awards Banquet is, in fact, tonight at the Norwalk Inn at 6 o'clock. I've had great pleasure of being there last year. It was really fun to be a part of that evening. So it is tonight, and they will hand out the first ever John Kutzo and Ralph King Awards, which is a nice thing to create. The John Kutzo Award is going to be to an educational professional who has made or have made significant contributions to high school sports while exhibiting the leadership, integrity, and professional qualities in the manner synonymous with Mr. Kutzo, who we know so well. And of course, he is the FCIAC commissioner in the transition of handing over the reins to Dave Schultz. Now, the Ralph King Award, that will be the Distinguished Coach Award, which will be known as the Ralph King Award, annually recognizing individuals who have made significant contributions to the FCIAC, named in honor, of course, of a man whose professionalism was characterized by excellence in service to the FCIAC, as well as the Connecticut High School Coaches Association and the CIAC. And of course, Ralph King is also stepping down. The winners both have Greenwich ties. Ed McDowell was the athletic director at Greenwich, as well as a football coach. There you see him among a group of former coaches at Greenwich High School. He is the gentleman on the right in the red sweater. So congratulations to Mr. McDowell. As for the other winner, it is Terry Lowe, and Terry Lowe has just been the really swimming coach throughout this area, turned Greenwich into a dynasty for nearly 50 years. These are two big-time names in high school athletics around these parts.
Right. You know, we talk dynasties all the time. You know, whether we're talking football or baseball, Greenwich swimming is the dynasty in Connecticut.
Oh, without a doubt. Also, at that banquet, they will induct 6 more into the Hall of Fame. The new inductees will be John Roper of Fairfield, who is a cross-country and track coach. Chip Salvestrini of Danbury, the athletic director there, we know him well. Pete Tucci of Norwalk, baseball and football coach. Mo Minikis down at Darien, the field hockey coach. Tom O'Donnell, the golf coach at Darien, and the legendary Bo Hickey, the ice hockey coach at New Canaan, as well as a longtime football assistant coach. And I only wish Frank Granito were here to do his great impression of Coach Hickey. He played for Coach Hickey, and he has... The Bo stories from everyone are always fantastic.
No, they really are. But I was just fascinated here. I was just looking at some of the statistics on Greenwich swimming during Coach Lowe's tenure. 46 seasons, 45 conference titles, 555 wins, 41 losses, 119 conference state class and state open championships in 46 years. So
really?
that Greenwich swimming is just synonymous with winning.
I mean, just the absolute best. All right, football schedules, while we have an extra minute here, and this will be something we'll continue to talk about. What do you think our first game will be this fall?
I think our first game will be this fall. Let's see here. I'm looking down at the schedule here. I couldn't see it. It was behind the teleprompter.
It actually is just for us, our view is a little skewed, but Eric, say it out loud. What will it be?
Trumbull and Ridgefield.
Trumbull and Ridgefield.
Ah.
How about that?
Ironically, it wasn't on my monitor.
I know, it was not exactly.
Not to make an excuse, but...
So we're looking indeed at, let's see, that would be, you mean Trumbull, New Canaan on the 16th? What are we talking?
The 9th.
On the 9th, excuse me. There it is, Trumbull and Ridgefield on the 9th at Tiger Hollow. One more time, what game will it be?
There it is. It's a little obscured from our view over here. That's why we had to go through it again. But yeah, Trumbull and Ridgefield, 7 o'clock. That game would be at Tiger Hollow, which not coincidentally is where we opened last season from an FCIAC football perspective. Our first FCIAC game last year was September 9th. Trumbull and New Canaan last year, but it'll be Ridgefield, New Canaan last year. This year it'll be Trumbull and Ridgefield.
And a big early season test. Darien and St. Joseph on the 10th at St. Joseph High. Interesting to see where those two teams are. And of course, the following week we have Ridgefield, New Canaan. So you have to hit the ground running when that conference season starts.
I'm taking just a quick look at a couple of these schedules. You can talk in terms of Darien. They're the defending champions all the way around. They open with St. Joseph on September 10th. That's away at St. Joe's. That, to me, is an interesting game to start the season, depending on what St. Joseph is returning. And that's the thing we don't know is really what are these teams going to look like?
Right. You're going off last year's schedule or last year's results. Obviously, teams do change. The tremendous amount of development takes place, particularly with a team like St. Joe's. It was a little bit on the young side last year. As far as some of the other games go, I'm just looking at. I was just taking a quick scan. Trumbull and Ridgefield, interesting matchup, I think, early in the season on Friday the 9th. Also, and then Trumbull and Greenwich also comes up on the 15th.
The talk is that Trumbull is going to be really good once again, and there's the thinking that Greenwich, I've had people tell me already Greenwich is the team to beat, believe it or not.
I do believe it because when you saw them play, last year I thought, we were saying throughout the season, is Greenwich a year away? And maybe I kind of thought they were more like 2 years away, but we'll see what kind of development they got. I really got I just got very good vibes coming off of that Greenwich. I think they think that they're back this year.
I think so. I think there are some key pieces, and we'll talk about that, as time goes on. Just keeping an eye on Darien, they'll play Staples throughout the year. They'll finish with New Canaan, a back-to-back Staples and New Canaan, with a break in between, 13 days between those games. Now, of course, keep in mind, you're no longer playing the FCIAC championship game, and even, the hardliner like me, as much as I, mourn the loss of the great game, it is over after 50 years. There is no championship game in 2016. So Darien New Canaan is scheduled for 10:30 in the morning on Thanksgiving the 24th of November at Dunning. That is happening.
That is happening. Also happening, we've just been talking about Greenwich quickly. Greenwich will get their chance to show us that they're back. Greenwich will play Darien on the 24th at that game at Darien, 1:30 p.m. So we'll see what Greenwich has.
And Greenwich, another fascinating game. And Johnny Marinelli likes these games in the latter afternoon hours at Cardinal Stadium. That's been an intriguing thing to me. Used to be you lived and died by the 1:30 game unless there were the SATs or there were the Friday night games. As I look at the Greenwich schedule, September 17th at Cardinal Stadium, the Trinity Catholic Crusaders come calling at 4 o'clock. The significance of that game, the return, if he's still on staff, of Rich Albanizio coming back to Greenwich High School.
Yeah, that's another fascinating game. Particularly when you have the storylines such as a return. Also, some interesting out-of-conference games. On the 17th, you have St. Joseph at Ledyard. Ledyard, very strong program last year. Also, you have Danbury at Harding. That game at Kennedy Stadium, Saturday the 24th at 1 p.m. Harding, of course, last year making the state playoffs for the first time in school history and returning All-State quarterback Tayson Pomachan. So that could be a very interesting matchup.
October 1st, you've got Norwich Free Academy coming to play Darien at Darien High School. A glance over at New Canaan. They stay all in the FCIAC. Starting with Trinity Catholic, assuming it's done at the new Gaglio Field, September 10th at 2 o'clock. And some other games throughout the season include the Marinelli Bowl Part 2 on October 21st, 7 o'clock versus Greenwich. They also have Norwalk, Trumbull, Darien in the mix as well. So what we're getting at is great stuff. Not that far away.
Stuff. And is NFA an associate member of every conference? It seems like, because they took that criticism to heart last year that in playing in that CCC, perhaps they don't play the strongest schedule. They a lot of Class S teams on the schedule. They stepped it up big time this year. So good job by NFA.
So we'll talk more about the schedules, and we'll start letting you know what our schedule is, but sounds like we've already told you our first FCIAC game. Might be a New York game thrown in as well. We never want to forget, as we wrap this show up, that we do have John Jay in our collection, in our market, if you will. That's the Lewisboro Ledger, so we don't forget about them. So we may throw a New York game in as well.
That may happen. Also, I just quickly checked it with NFA on their schedule. By the way, they're out of conference games. Xavier, Darien, Staples, Stamford. And that, along with their conference games against New London, Ledyard, Stonington, teams like that. So strong out of it's great to see a team play a strong out of conference slate. Most teams can't because of the conference schedules. NFA could, and they did.
Now we've got 10 games and no championship. I'd like to see a little more of the out of conference stuff. I'd love to see Greenwich or New Canaan play somebody a little more outside of the norm. But we'll talk about that as the summer moves along. Don, great show.
Yet again, we did it one more time. We got through.
Maybe we'll get him back tomorrow. Hopefully Dave Stewart tomorrow as well. But we'll deal with tomorrow. That'll do it for Nutmeg Sports as we get ready to wrap things up for this Tuesday edition. And again, be voting. It's online. If it's a little tough to find, we've tweeted it, but make sure you go and you vote for the Week 9 Athletes of the Week so we can get those folks the credit they deserve, and we'll get you Week 10 as well. Now I feel better saying goodbye for this edition of the show. Thanks to Eric Gendron. Angela, stay out of trouble over there. For Donald Eng, I'm Rob Adams. Enjoy your Tuesday right here on the 8 a.m.